Hey aviators, it's Ryan, and SimVenture 2022 is finally here. I'm about to hop into our Glime BATD and depart from Baraboo, or Wisconsin Dells Regional Airport, fly the appropriate transitions, and connect to ATC while we're in the air. So what's interesting about SimVenture is that we'll be communicating with the actual ATC controllers who will be coordinating traffic at AirVenture in Oshkosh next week. I personally have not had the privilege to fly into AirVenture, so this experience is exciting for me as I will be getting a taste of what it's like to fly into busy Oshkosh during AirVenture. So before we hop into the BATD though, let's talk about some of the procedures involved that will be pertinent in the flight we're about to do. This document right here is the SimVenture Notice, formerly known as the NOTAM. This year, the notice is over 30 pages long and it includes all the information and procedures we need to conduct a successful flight, just like the notice pilots should refer to when flying into the real AirVenture. There are 4 transition points pilots may fly into to join the queue into Oshkosh: the Endeavor transition, the Puckaway Lake transition, the Green Lake transition, and the Ripon transition. Pilots should monitor the ATIS from Oshkosh to determine which transition point they should enter from before ATC directs them from Ripon to Fisk and then finally to Oshkosh. For our flight, however, we'll be entering from the furthest point, the Endeavor transition, so that we can experience the whole route of flight, we won't want to do that. So once we get to Ripon, we are expected to look out for certain landmarks to confirm that we're in the correct area before following the railroad tracks all the way to Fisk. Once we get to Fisk, things will start to get interesting. ATC will be monitoring traffic to ensure proper spacing, telling us to rock our wings left and right to confirm identification before assigning us to a specific runway to land on. ATC may refer to us based on our color, type, characteristic, or even tail number. So for this flight, we'll be flying as a red and white, high wing, single engine Cessna 172 with a tail number November 980 Golf Alpha. So let's keep our ears peeled for any of those characteristics. So I think I've talked enough, so let's jump into the BATD and let's get started. Hey everyone, so we're here on the BATD and we're all set up here, but before we go flying, I do want to walk through a couple of checklists here on the notice, not the NOTAMs, the notice. So I have it here in my iPad, so let's swipe through it. So a couple of things to take note: all aircraft must be using 29.92, and we have that set here on my instrument panel. The weather is set to CAV OK. The next thing is to file a VFR flight plan. That's pretty easy. We've already done that. We've already tested the radios, so we're good. Next, we want to key in all the frequencies that we'll be using. So we have ATIS, which is 125.9. We'll monitor that once we depart here. Other frequencies are Fisk approach at 120.7. And there's 2 tower frequencies. There's 118.5 and 126.6, depending on what sort of transition we get when we get closer to Oshkosh. So when we approach a transition point, we want to maintain our speed at about 90 knots and our altitude at about 1,800 feet. Once we get to Ripon, ATC will begin monitoring us and we will fly to Fisk transition. From there, we'll get whichever runway we're going to fly into and then land in Oshkosh. So we also want to make sure that we maintain about a half-mile distance from the aircraft in front of us when we arrive at the transition. We cannot overtake, so rats, and we can't do any S-turns. So if we get too close to the aircraft in front of us, less than a half-mile distance, we will have to break away from the transition or the trail and get back into a transition that was behind us. Get back in line, basically. There's a couple of things that we want to look out for. This is the view approaching Ripon. We're going to see a small lake, we're going to see some silos, and we're going to follow the railroad tracks. And in about 3 miles outside of Fisk, we will see a smokestack. The railroad tracks will break from the road, and we will continue flying along the railroad tracks to get to our destination, which is Fisk. And when we're about 1.5 miles from Fisk, we will see a grain farm with a small pond. So at about 1,800 feet, we should be able to see that, but we will keep our eyes peeled. And once we arrive at Fisk, there'll be 2 transitions. There'll be the railroad track transition for runway 27 or 9er, and there's also the Fisk Avenue transition for runway 36 and runway 18. One of the taxiways has been turned into a runway, so we can expect to see runway 36 left, runway 36 right, runway 18 left, 18 right. So we'll pay attention to that when we get closer. So just to point out one last thing, verbal readbacks to ATC are not required. Unless you don't understand something, go ahead and ask them. So we can do that. Additionally, pilots may be asked to rock their wings so that we are identified by ATC. So we'll pay attention to that too. All right, I think we're ready to roll here. So we're gonna start from Baraboo, Wisconsin, Dells Regional Airport.
Radio check.
Gonna put my headset on. As you can see here on my iPad, we're starting from Baraboo Regional to Endeavour transition, Puckaway Lake, Green Lake, Ripon, Fisk, and then finally to Oshkosh. So let's burn some fuel and fly to Oshkosh. All right, taxiing to the runway. All right, as we're taxiing here, I have all my lights on, everything's on. Everything looks good. All right, so we're at the end of the runway here for runway 1 at Baraboo. So we were just calling to ATC. Baraboo Regional, red and white Skyhawk, November 980 Golf Alpha, taking the active runway 1. Departing northeastbound, Baraboo Regional. We're lined up on the runway, and off we go. 55, rotate. So our initial climb out altitude would be to 4,000 feet as we head towards the Endeavour transition. All right, so we're still climbing. We're at about 2,000 feet, climbing to 4,000 feet, headed directly towards Endeavour transition. So we got some time to kill. Looking at the view, pretty cool. We're gonna check our frequencies. I'm gonna start monitoring Fisk approach here at 120.7. Gonna turn that on. And let's see if we can get the ATIS at Oshkosh. So that's 125.9. Really scratchy ATIS at the moment. I'm not sure if it's because we're too far out right now. So we are able to pick it up, but it is a little bit scratchy. I wonder once we get closer if it's going to be a little bit more clear. Okay, yeah, we're about 50 nautical miles from Oshkosh, so hopefully once we get closer it'll be a lot clearer. So there we are at 4,000 feet. We're going to continue this heading towards the Endeavour transition, and we'll take it from there. In the meantime, I'm going to be looking at my notice here. It's specifically mentioned we shouldn't be memorizing everything. We're not expected to memorize everything in the notice. There's about 31 pages here. We are required to refer to it during the course of the flight. So, looking at this page, if there is too much traffic as we get into Oshkosh, there are two holds that we could do. A Green Lake hold and a Rush Lake hold. And the holds are not instrument holds. They're just a lap around the lake until ATC tells you that you're good to go. So we'll pay attention to that. We did see a couple of planes here earlier when we were setting up, so I think it might get kind of busy. So we'll see. The team from Pilot Edge did mention that we do have Gleim tents there that they set up for us. So it'll be fun to walk around at SimVenture and try to find the tents. So we'll look out for that. So we're about 5 miles out from the Endeavour transition, and we do want to descend to about 1,800 feet here. So I'm gonna bring us down. And I want to pull back our power because we want to maintain roughly 90 knots. So the Endeavour transition can be easily spotted by the bridge right here in front of us, the lake, and the road, all intersecting at one point. So although I have my map, I can visually tell that that is definitely the Endeavour transition. So we'll fly right to that bridge, or just before that bridge, and we'll start turning eastbound for the next transition. 1 mile out, 1,000 feet to go. Starting our turn. Oops, getting a little bit slow there, so I'm gonna bump in the power till we hit 90 knots. Perfect. So just as confirmation, we're at about 1,800 feet. Speed is about 90 knots, and we're headed eastbound. So the next thing we're gonna look for is the Puckaway Lake. So it's an odd-shaped lake. There's almost 2 parts to it, so we wanna look out for that. That should be coming in about 8 miles from us. So as we're flying towards Puckaway Lake, I do want to listen to see if we can pick up the ATIS from here.
Oshkosh ATIS, information Alpha, wind calm, visibility 10, sky clear, altimeter 2992. VFR arrival and departure procedures in effect. Arriving runway 27, runway 36 left, and runway 36 right. Pitches 20 or 22 of the notice. Departing runway 36 left at Papa 5. Aircraft inbound for the fifth arrival proceed to Green Lake, join the fifth arrival. Aircraft arriving must be familiar with runway exit procedures. Refer to the bottom of pages 20 or 22 for your specific runway exit procedure after landing. Upon arrival, pilot switching to depart immediately shall follow the flagman. They'll lead you back to the runway for takeoff. Pilot switching to taxi to parking shall follow the flagman until they see signage for parking. All Oshkosh departures refer to the departure procedures on page 23 of the notice. Pull out of the designated parking area and follow the flagman to runway 36 left at Papa 5. Monitor tower on 118.9er and be listening and ready to go upon reaching the runway.
Oh, I do see an aircraft in front of us. He may be flying towards Green Lake there. Looks like he's going pretty fast. So we're here at Puckaway with that little island in the center of it. And now we're going to continue flying almost on the edge of that lake towards Green Lake. I'm going to spend this time to look around here to see if we got any other traffic. Oh, I do see traffic behind me too. It's kind of hard to spot. It's really small. I think he's following us. Pretty cool. So let's see. The ATIS mentioned runway 27, 36 left, and 36 right. So we're going to focus on page 22 of the notice and page 20 of the notice. Before we do that, we're about 5 miles out from the next transition, which is Green Lake. How are my passengers? You guys doing okay?
What time's the movie? More peanuts. More peanuts.
I'm excited to see how similar it is to the real Oshkosh. Because I've been to Oshkosh, but I want to see how it is in SimVenture.
Have you flown in there for real?
I have not. Yeah. And depending on how this flight goes, we'll see if I decide to fly in the future. Alrighty, about 3 miles out from Green Lake. So we want to keep our eyes peeled here. There should be other aircraft coming in. That one aircraft ahead of us, I still see him. He's off to our left here. He is far ahead of us, so he's not going to be a problem, but we'll keep an eye out on him. And looking behind me, the aircraft that was initially behind us, I still see him. I see his lights. So we're good. And there we go, returning towards the next transition. So that was Green Lake. And the next transition would be Ripon. When we get to Ripon, like I mentioned earlier, there are certain things we want to pay attention to, such as the small lake, the silos, their railway tracks. We want to monitor Fisk approach from then on. We want to see the smokestack about 3 miles out, and also the grain farm. So there's a lot to look out for there. Let's see if we can spot them. And as we approach Oshkosh, looking at the notice here, and there are the different landing distances because there will be dots and squares on the runways, and ATC will notify you where you should be landing. You want to land on the spot or beyond. So for runway 27, you have the displaced threshold, the orange dot, and the green dot, if we were to get that. I don't really see the aircraft that was ahead of us. He might have been at 2,300 feet. They can fly at a higher speed at 2,300 feet. So we're at 1,800. We want to maintain 90. We're about right there. And I do see an aircraft behind us. He seems a lot closer now than he was before. So I hope he's maintaining his airspeed. We'll see. If not, he has to brake, not us. All right, it looks like we're approaching Ripon here. So going back to the notice, we want to pay attention to a small lake, silos, and railroad tracks. Okay, I see the silos. I do not see the lake. And I think I see the railroad tracks. Let's start monitoring Fisk approach.
Great Cherokee, half mile southwest of Fisk, rock your wing. Nice wing rock on that Great Cherokee. Turn right heading 090 left base runway 36, follow that east-west road Tower frequency is going to be 126.6 for you. Welcome to Oshkosh.
So it looks like some people have already arrived in Oshkosh. They were told to rock their wings. That's pretty cool. So I do see the lake now, and I see the silos, and I see the railroad tracks. So we're gonna fly over the railroad tracks now. And we wanna fly directly over it. So I'm gonna turn off the autopilot here and hand fly it. So here we go.
Cessna 50 Delta, rock your wings for me, please. Cessna 50 Delta, rock your wings for me, please.
Why was she laughing?
There you go, Cessna 50 Delta, turn right, heading 090. Follow that east-west road for left base runway 26, monitor tower 126.6. Frequency change is approved. Once you're past Fisk, switch over to the appropriate frequencies. Runway 27 is 118.5. Runway 36, tower frequency 126.6. Welcome to Oshkosh, everybody.
So the next thing we want to spot is the smokestack, which is about 3 miles out from Fisk. And I do not see it yet, but we're continuing to look out for it, while at the same time scanning for traffic. There should only be people in front of us and people behind us. Look behind. Oh. Yep. I think we got 2 people behind us. Pretty cool. Okay, I think I see the smokestack here. Looking at the notice and looking outside. Yep, pretty sure that's it.
Again, you guys coming up over the railroad tracks from Ripon, looking really good. Spacing looks really nice.
Ah, that's cool. Here.
Beautiful day here at Oshkosh. Wind is calm. Sky is clear. Altimeter 2992.
Checking the altimeter, 2992, like she said. Perfect. As a reminder, we are red and white Cessna. They might say a high wing aircraft, single engine aircraft, or they might use our tail number. So we'll look out for all of those.
White and blue Cessna, half mile southwest of Fisk, rock your wing. Nope, first aircraft, Cessna 2 Sierra Papa, rock your wing.
So I do see the grain farm
Cessna
here.
2 Sierra Papa, rock your wings, please. Cessna 2 Sierra Papa, if you can hear me, turn right now, right turn, 090.
I'm 33 Papa coming right by there. Do you want me to turn?
No, 33 Papa, I've got a Cessna in front of you that I'm trying to talk to. Cessna 2 Sierra Papa, follow the railroad track right down on runway 27, 1,800 feet until the gravel pit. Switch over to frequency 118.5. Cessna 33 Papa, you can turn right heading 090 now. Follow that east-west road for the left base runway 36. Red and white Cessna, half mile southwest of Fisk, rock your wing.
So it's time to rock our wings here.
Nice wing rocks. Red and white Cessna, follow the railroad track right down on runway 27. Maintain 1,800 feet until the gravel pit. Monitor tower 118.5. Again, if you're past Fisk, tower frequency for runway 27 is 118.5.
So we're gonna follow the railroad tracks till the gravel pit, then we can descend for runway 27. So our frequency for runway 27 is gonna be 118.5. So we have our frequency in there, 118.5. Looking for that gravel
Information
pit.
Bravo is current. Wind calm, altimeter 2992, runway 27 is in use. That's page 20 of the NOTAMs page. Look forward to seeing you at the show here, and we'll pick you out by type and color. Just by those gravel pits there. Need your downwind turn just prior to the gravel pits, at which point you can start your descent. And expect a right turn off into the grass.
Right turn off into the grass, that's what he said. Perfect. So we have the orange dot, green dot, or displaced threshold as our landing points.
Got a white and purple Cessna coming up on those gravel pits. First time I've seen purple today, so I appreciate your style. Start your descent now. Turn your base just prior to that orange dot, so you are pointed directly at that orange dot on your base. Green dot, clear to land.
All right, we're at the gravel pits. We're heading downwind right now for runway 27. So we'll just wait for him to call us in.
Get a red and white Cessna coming up on a pretty tight downwind. It's no problem. Start slowing it down though for me, sir, and turn your base right at the numbers there. The white and blue Cessna. Turn right towards that orange dot. Turn right towards the orange dot now, and land on the green dot. Green dot clear to land on runway 27 for that white and blue Cessna on the base there. Turn right towards that orange dot now. There you go. Appreciate it. The red and white Cessna on the downwind. You can turn your base now right towards that orange dot as well, and expect to land on the green.
So we're landing on the green dot. So let's hook
White and purple Cessna rolling out. Appreciate your help today. You can follow the flagman. We'll welcome the show. Red and white Cessna on the base. Turn that right towards that orange dot now, and then green dot clear to land on runway 27. The white and blue Cessna rolling out on 27. Turn right in the grass. Follow the flagman and welcome the show.
And we're here. Landed in Oshkosh. How about that? Pretty cool.
The red and white Cessna turn right in the grass now. Follow the flagman. Welcome to the show.
All right. We're taxiing off onto the grass. We'll follow the flagman. Them. Perfect. Parking brake on. And we're here at Oshkosh. That was so much fun. Flying the Fisk approach, listening to the controllers, telling us where to go. We didn't even have to communicate with them. They told us specifically what to do. Gravel pit, fly to the orange dot, land on the green dot. That was so much fun. All right, so we've arrived in Oshkosh. I've just shut down the engine. Let's free cam it and kind of take a walk around Oshkosh. Let's see how this place looks. Look at all these planes, just like Oshkosh. So I'm just gonna cross the runway here, over to the other planes. I wanna get close to the tower. All the different planes and tent. Some NASA flags there, pretty cool. I wonder if the control tower also has the world's busiest airport sign. Oh, it does! How cool is that? So Gleim, our booth will be right around the control tower where hangar A is. That's where we're at. So if you're coming to Oshkosh, be sure to come see us. Let's walk this way. Oh, look! It's the Gleim banner, or Gleim tent. Pretty cool. Look at that. It's empty though. None of us are there yet, but we'll be there next week. That's pretty cool. So that was SimVenture. How fun was that? There were some fun moments we got to experience, and frankly, Pilot Edge did a fantastic job with the event. And most notably, virtual Oshkosh looked so much like the real Oshkosh, don't you think? And I thought that was really impressive. And hey, if you're interested in learning more about the Gleim BATD, visit our website at www.gleimaviation.com or come by our booth at Oshkosh for an in-person demo. Yep, you can do that. Thanks again to Pilot Edge for hosting SimVenture. Visit their site at pilotedge.net and like and subscribe to our channel down below if you haven't already done so. I'm Ryan. Take care and fly safely, aviators. See ya.